Hey everyone, this is Sean with Integrity Ranch. Just admiring this view here. I just got the cows moved, rolled up the fence and stashed it on the old quad. Just gonna walk through the cows with you guys and wanted to show you guys the body condition now. So when we lost that lease back in, I think it was like February, that kind of put us in a rough spot, and we had to start pushing the cows pretty good because we were out of stockpile. We were supposed to go to that lease and that was going to finish us out through the winter. We lost that, so we had to just start feeding hay, and we didn't have near enough hay, so I was pushing them really hard on the hay. I was making them clean it up. Hay was just too hard to find last year. I don't know if you guys remember, some of these girls were looking a little rough. But if you look at them now, they're shiny, they're all slicked off. And they're putting a lot of that weight back on. And these cows, they've got calves on them. And their calf right now is kind of at its peak for milk production. You know, these girls are only going to start to go down on milk production, which will help them be able to put on, you know, more back fat. The less energy they're putting into making milk, you know, the more energy they can start putting into their fat. And if I keep grazing these girls the way I've been, by wintertime, October, November, when, you know, most of your grass goes dormant, they're gonna be really fat. They're gonna have a lot of fat on their tail head, and I'm gonna be able to use that fat to take them through the winter. And that's, you know, nature has that designed. I was watching a video on beavers, and you know, beavers got that big old tail, and one of the most important things that tail does is gives them a place to store fat. Because beavers eat bark, they eat the sap, you know, they live off of the sap and bark on all these trees. And in the wintertime, you know, there's not much for a beaver to eat. And so they pretty much live the winter just off the fat of on their tail. And so I think if you get the right genetics and you manage them properly, you can kind of do that. Because in the wintertime, it's hard to feel like the cows are getting enough. You know, you're out there moving them, the grass is all brown, it's all dead, and it kind of doesn't feel like you're giving the cows enough. But if they're not still milking their calves, and they're good and fat, they're gonna do just fine. You run into problems with cows that won't wean their calves. They keep that's a stud of a bull calf. They won't wean their calves. They're milking too much still, and they're too thin to start, you know, the winter out with. They've got to be fat to start the winter. They're not going to be fat throughout the winter. And so getting the right genetics is going to be a huge deal. But I think, you know, in nature, it's like that for everything. The deer, I don't know if you've ever killed a deer in November. I mean, they have a good inch of back fat around their tail, on their hump, on their rump. They've got so much fat back there. And if we could start doing that a little more with our cows, sheep, goats, you know, it's all the same, then we can go throughout winter a lot better. The problem I think most people have is we start the winter out with just mediocre, you know, they're looking okay. They're not super fat, but they're not skinny. And then we kind of have to work our tail off all winter to keep them, yeah, you know, they're not too thin, you know. We don't maybe we don't go out there with grain, but we're kind of overworking it, trying to keep them from getting any worse. The hides are really shiny on most of these girls, and that's helping them handle this heat so they can keep putting on the weight. But yeah, I think winters, you know, winters can be a lot easier if we work on getting better stock and then focus on our management while the grass is growing. You know, this heifer's got a real wrinkled up tail head. She's just a year old, so she's not got a calf. So she's got no excuse but to just be putting on the weight and getting ready to be exposed to a bull. We're gonna turn our bulls in the next week. Right around July 1st, we'll put our bulls in here. And I'm excited because they've been riding each other. They're ready for a bull. Yeah, the cows are looking good. Get better genetics and really work on getting them fat for winter. And there's no reason that they shouldn't be. If they look like this now, and their milk production should just start to drop off here. You know, these calves are getting close to 90 days old, and that's when their milk needs really start to die off at about 87 days. So, as long as the cows will start to wean them slowly, or just start producing a little less milk, then they can just really put on the weight. If the cows stay milking too heavy, you got some dairy influence or something, then it's just going to be tough for them to put on weight. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hit that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We'd really appreciate it. And we'll be turning the bulls out soon, and I'll shoot some videos on that.